The restaurant sat high above the city, wrapped in glass and gold, the kind of place where the lights below looked like scattered stars and the air smelled faintly of expensive wine and ambition. Soft piano music floated between tables, blending with low laughter and the gentle clink of crystal glasses. This was where Ethan Blackwell brought people when he wanted to impress them, or remind himself of the life he had built. Ethan Blackwell was a billionaire CEO before 40, the kind whose face appeared on magazine covers with words like visionary and self-made printed beneath his photo. His company had reshaped an entire industry, and his name carried weight in boardrooms across the world. Tonight, he sat at a corner table with a woman who seemed to belong perfectly in this setting. Sophia was elegant, poised, her smile practiced yet charming. She wore a black dress that shimmered subtly under the lights, her hand resting lightly on the table near Ethan's. She laughed at his jokes, listened intently when he spoke, and knew exactly when to touch his arm or lean closer. To anyone watching, they looked like a power couple, successful, beautiful, untroubled. Ethan lifted his glass, smiling. To finally having a night off, he said. Sophia clinked her glass against his. To you actually slowing down for once. He chuckled, taking a sip. Slowing down wasn't something he was good at. Even now, part of his mind was running through numbers, meetings, and plans. But Sophia made things easy. She didn't ask about his past too much. She admired his present. And after everything he'd been through, that felt comfortable. The waiter arrived with their appetizers, explaining each dish in careful detail. Ethan nodded politely, his attention drifting for just a moment as movement near the entrance caught his eye. A woman stepped inside, hesitating briefly as if unsure she belonged there. She wore a simple, light-colored dress, not cheap, but not designed to turn heads either. Her hair was pulled back loosely, and her hand rested protectively over her stomach. Ethan's breath caught. For a second, the restaurant noise faded, the lights dimmed, and all he could see was her. Lena, his ex-wife. She looked older, not in a bad way, but in a way that spoke of responsibility, of quiet endurance. And she was unmistakably pregnant. Ethan froze, his fingers tightening around the stem of his glass. Sophia noticed immediately. Ethan, she asked softly, are you okay? He didn't answer right away. His eyes were locked on Lena as she scanned the room, clearly looking for someone. She smiled faintly when she spotted a man already seated near the window, waving at her. She walked carefully toward him, her steps slow, measured. Ethan's chest felt tight. Pregnant. The word echoed in his mind, loud and relentless. Sophia followed his gaze and frowned slightly. Do you know her? Ethan swallowed. Yeah, he said quietly. She's my ex-wife. Sophia's eyebrows lifted, surprise flashing across her face before she masked it. Oh. They watched as Lena reached the table, the man standing to pull out her chair. He was average-looking, kind-faced, dressed neatly but without the polished confidence Ethan was used to seeing in his own circle. He helped Lena sit, murmured something that made her smile, then took his own seat. Ethan felt something sharp twist inside him. He hadn't seen Lena in almost 3 years. Not since the divorce papers were signed, not since she had walked out of the penthouse apartment they once shared with nothing more than a suitcase and quiet dignity. He had told himself it was for the best. He had told himself she would be fine. Clearly, life had moved on. The waiter returned with their food, placing the plates carefully in front of Ethan and Sophia. The smell was rich and inviting, but Ethan barely noticed. Sophia picked up her fork, glancing at him. Do you want to talk about it? Ethan shook his head automatically. It's nothing. But it wasn't nothing. Memories flooded back uninvited. Late nights at the office while Lena waited up, dinner growing cold. Her gentle reminders turning into quiet disappointment. The way she used to sit on the edge of the bed, asking him if he'd be home for their anniversary, their birthdays, their plans for a future he kept postponing. I just need a little more time, he had always said. Once the company stabilizes. The company had stabilized. Their marriage had not. Lena had wanted a family. She had spoken about children with hope in her eyes, about building a life that wasn't just glass towers and profit margins. Ethan had listened, but only halfway. He loved her, he told himself. But love, in his mind, meant providing, protecting, succeeding. He hadn't realized until it was too late that she needed presence more than prestige. When she finally asked for a divorce, she hadn't screamed or accused. She had simply said, "I feel alone even when you're right next to me." That sentence had haunted him more than any argument could have. Now she was here, pregnant, laughing softly at something the man across from her said. Ethan felt a strange mix of emotions: shock, regret, jealousy, and something dangerously close to guilt. Sophia tried to lighten the mood. "Well," she said gently, "it looks like she's happy." Ethan nodded, though the word happy felt heavy. He glanced down at his plate, forcing himself to take a bite. The food tasted like nothing. Across the room, Lena lifted her glass of water, listening intently. Her face glowed in a way Ethan didn't remember seeing often toward the end of their marriage. There was peace there, a quiet strength. Ethan's phone buzzed on the table. A notification from his assistant, probably about tomorrow's meeting. He ignored it. Instead, his mind drifted back to the night everything had ended. Lena had stood in their living room, surrounded by boxes, her eyes tired but resolved. Ethan had tried to argue, to promise changes, but his words had come too late and sounded hollow even to himself. "I hope you find everything you're looking for," she had said before leaving. At the time, he thought success would fill the void. It hadn't. Sophia set her fork down. "Ethan, if this is too uncomfortable, we can leave." He looked at her, really looked at her. She was kind, understanding, and patient in her own way. But suddenly, he realized something uncomfortable. Sophia knew the version of him that existed after the climb, after the losses. Lena had known him before, the man with dreams but also doubts, the man who talked about changing the world and starting a family in the same breath. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't expect to see her." Sophia nodded. "I get that." There was a pause, filled with unspoken questions. Across the room, Lena excused herself and stood slowly, one hand on her stomach. She headed toward the restroom, passing close to Ethan's table. As she drew nearer, their eyes met. For a split second, the world seemed to stop. Lena's eyes widened slightly, recognition flashing across her face. She slowed, then stopped. "Ethan," she said softly. "Lena," he replied, standing without thinking. Sophia looked up, surprised but composed. There was an awkward silence, thick with history. "You look, well," Ethan said finally. Lena smiled politely. "Thank you. You too." His gaze flicked to her stomach before he could stop himself. She noticed. "Yes," she said gently, her hand resting protectively over the curve. "I'm 7 months along." "Congratulations," he said, the word catching in his throat. "Thank you." Sophia stood, extending her hand. "Hi, I'm Sophia." Lena shook it, her grip warm but reserved. "Lena. Nice to meet you." There was no bitterness in her tone, no accusation. And somehow, that made Ethan feel worse. "I should get back," Lena said after a moment. "It was nice seeing you." "You too," Ethan replied. She walked away, leaving behind a silence that felt louder than before. Ethan sat back down slowly. Sophia watched him carefully. "Are you okay?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "I don't know." They finished dinner quietly. Sophia tried to make conversation, but Ethan's responses were distant. His thoughts kept returning to Lena, her calm smile, her pregnancy, the life she was building without him. When they finally stood to leave, Ethan glanced one last time toward Lena's table. She was laughing again, her hand resting over the man's as he spoke. They looked like a team. In the car, Sophia broke the silence. "Ethan, I need to ask you something. And I want you to be honest." He nodded. "Okay. Are you over her?" The question hit harder than he expected. He stared out the window at the passing city lights. "I thought I was," he said slowly. "But tonight, I realized I never really let myself feel what I lost." Sophia was quiet for a moment. "I don't want to be someone's distraction," she said gently. "I want to be chosen." Ethan turned to her, guilt flooding his chest. "You deserve that." She smiled sadly. "Figure out what you really want. Not what looks good. Not what's easy. What's real." They stopped in front of her apartment. Sophia leaned over and kissed his cheek softly. "Take care, Ethan." He watched her walk inside, feeling the weight of another possible loss settling on his shoulders. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat alone in his penthouse, the city spread beneath him, vast and glittering. For years, this view had made him feel powerful. Tonight, it felt empty. He thought about Lena, how she used to stand beside him at this very window, talking about painting the spare room for a nursery one day. He had laughed it off, saying they had time. Time had moved on without him. The next morning, Ethan did something he hadn't done in years. He took the day off. No meetings. No calls. He found himself driving through parts of the city he rarely visited now, places that felt more grounded, more human. Eventually, without fully planning it, he ended up outside a small cafe near a park. And there, sitting at an outdoor table, was Lena. She was alone this time, sipping tea, a book resting beside her. Ethan parked and hesitated. Every instinct told him to drive away. But something deeper pushed him forward. "Lena," he said softly as he approached. She looked up, surprised but not startled. "Ethan, mind if I sit?" he asked. She considered him for a moment, then nodded. "Okay." They sat in silence for a few seconds, the sounds of children playing nearby filling the space. "I didn't mean to intrude," he said. I wanted to ask how you are." She smiled faintly. "I'm good. Really. I'm glad," he said, and meant it. Another pause. "I'm sorry," Ethan said suddenly. "For not being there. For not listening. For thinking success could replace everything else." Lena looked at him, her eyes thoughtful. "I know you tried, Ethan. In your own way. That wasn't enough," he said quietly. "No," she agreed. "It wasn't." He nodded, accepting the truth. "But," she continued, "it taught me what I needed. What I deserved." Ethan swallowed. "I'm happy for you." She smiled, genuine this time. "I hope you find happiness too." They stood, a chapter finally closing, not with anger or regret alone, but with understanding. As Ethan walked back to his car, he realized something profound. Seeing his ex-wife pregnant hadn't just shocked him. It had awakened him. For the first time, he understood that wealth without connection was hollow, and success without love was incomplete. And though he couldn't rewrite the past, he could finally choose a future that meant something. Not because it looked good to the world, but because it felt right to his heart. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to pause and reflect. In life, we often chase money, success, and a busy lifestyle, and in the process, we forget the people who truly care about us. While they are still with us, we keep telling ourselves there is time, but when they move on, only then do we realize what we have lost. This story isn't just about a billionaire CEO. It's about every person who keeps postponing their loved ones for tomorrow. Remember this: money can return, success can be rebuilt, but lost time and broken relationships don't always come back. If there is someone in your life waiting for you, someone who needs your presence more than your achievements, value them today. A simple call, a message, or a little time, sometimes these small things are enough to save someone's entire world. If this story made you feel something, please like the video, share it with your friends and family, and tell us in the comments. If you were in Ethan's place, what would you choose, success or love? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because more heart-touching stories like this are waiting for you.